Like literally last year in the CNN and BBC and like all over social media was a homicide, which it turns out it was a vendetta. The blogger, the whole world was posting about that. Like I was like, I'm sorry, like don't you have other business to do? Like it's a homicide in Baghdad, showing it as like Baghdad, the capital of murder. I'm sorry, like what? What? You cannot call a capital of murder by one murder.
Welcome to this special episode of Travel Stories, the English version of an otherwise Dutch show called Reisverhalen. I'm your host, Tom Broenink, and in this show, I sit down with people who have an interesting story to tell from their travels. Travelers on holiday, backpackers, weekend adventurers, mountaineers, you name it. Every now and then, I share some of my own journeys as well. Recently, I went on a trip to Iraq in the Middle East, and it turned out to be one of the most remarkable trips I've ever taken. In Iraq, I met my tour guide, Ahmed. For this special episode, I sat down with Ahmed and we talked about how he became a tour guide, how Iraq is viewed in the West, his hopes and dreams for his country's future, and the things that make him proud to call himself an Iraqi. So sit back and enjoy these fascinating insights into a country that many of us hardly know. So I'm here with my lovely tour guide, Ahmed. Welcome, Ahmed.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, can you tell us a little something about yourself?
Well, first my name. My name is Ahmed. Ahmed around Iraq. I'm from Najaf. I have been working as a tour guide for around 3 years now. Pretty much since the beginning of tourism. It started around 2022, 2021. And until now.
So how did you become a tour guide exactly?
I was in Turkey in 2021. I was studying business administration. I went there. It was an amazing experience. And it's a very international city. Obviously, you meet a lot of people from different countries and different places. And I knew at that time Iraq had a bad image. I didn't know it was that bad. And so obviously I was very upset. You know, I was like... why everybody look at it is like such dangerous, like countries that like terrorism and all of these terrible things, you know. I wish at the time like I could do something about it. So I started to talk to the close friends that I have there. It's like it's not just that, you know, like come on, it's not we have a lot more than this and we can be a lot more than this. So I was like someday maybe I'll have the chance to actually do something or like to be part of something. I came back. I had issues in Turkey with residency, and it was kind of racism kind of rising in that region. Let's say in Istanbul, I wasn't fully comfortable. I didn't feel like I really belonged there. Like deep down, I knew that I needed something more. But I felt like I had no choice. I came back. My friend called me, which we always talked about tourism and how we can make invitation letters and how can we go through this hard process. He told me, Ahmed, there's somebody coming and he wants a private trip. And I was telling him like, dude, I do that for fun, you know, like I've never done it as a job. But we also realized at the same time, I thought like nobody took it as a job for the last 40 years. Or maybe you did it as a job or like having one every month or every few months and more like local tourism. So I told him, no, like I need to apply for the Turkish visa, you know, like my family, they've been invested so much into this and I invested so much into this. But deep down, if you ask me, I'd be like, dude, like, I'm going.
Why?
Because my heart was telling me, like, you need something different. You're not happy where you are, do something about it. I was in a fight. Like, in the meantime, I was telling myself, no, this is ridiculous, you know? Like, I've put so much money, so much time into this. And I need to carry on, you know? Like, all of my friends, they're gonna graduate. I was already late 2 years for university. 1 year I was studying English. The other year I was looking for college. So I was like, it's time. I mean, I can graduate and I can do whatever I want. So it was a battle, you know, like within me.
Right.
So I decided to apply for the visa again to go to Turkey. But deep down, I knew this would not work, you know, like, and I kind of wish that it wouldn't work, but I didn't want to say it out loud at that time. So I applied anyway, and I was like, if the paper arrives early, then I guess I'm going back to Turkey to study, and I'm telling my friend no. After I told him no, and he was starting to look for a tour guide, I told him no. So like I made my mind, but deep down I haven't really. The result or the visa application came. There was no visa. There was next to it a rejection paper. That was the happiest rejection of my life.
Interesting.
Like, I looked at it and I was a genuine smile on my face. I walked around the neighborhood in a few blocks and I was kind of thinking to myself, this is a sign. I need to start from here. I need to do something about it. Like, I called my friend that night, or the night after, I think. I told him, do you remember this guy that told you, like, he wants a tour guide? He's like, yeah. He's like, can you just give him a call? I'm actually available, and I would like to take him around. He talked to him, and it turns out for 2 months, around 2 months, this guy never found a tour guide. So, like, it felt like, oh, perfect. I'm available. They decided, like, the price. I was like, I don't care about the price. I want to try it. Like, this is for me. This is a trip for me more than a trip to him. I went around, and for like 8-9 days, I went around like I was working pretty much from early morning to late evening with him, driving and going to places, booking hotels. Like, it was intense. I went back home after that, as tired as I am. I'm the happiest man on the planet. Like, I feel like this guy came with an opinion and he left with a different opinion. Like, he left fully convinced that Iraq is a nice country, it is safe, and people are nice, and there's more to the story than just explosions, basically.
And is that your main motivation?
Yes. That fuels me. That's like fuel every single time. So that's how, let's say, the initial 6 months.
Right. So was it scary for you to take this step, because the tourism industry wasn't really there yet and still isn't really there? So I guess it has a very uncertain future. So I can imagine it must have been quite a scary experience to make that decision.
Just by you mentioning that, I get the goosebumps, because I kind of relived that feeling when when you do something and everybody tells you it's stupid. Like, everybody told me at that time it's stupid. Like, only maybe my mom, she saw me very happy and she was like, keep going. If you ask me, I was deep down very scared. I was like, have you heard of this do or die? It's like, it feels like it was my only shot. I can't go back to university right away. That means that would be really hurtful for my dignity with my family and everything. It's like the failure that I'm gonna have to go through and see my friends are like nearly graduating and I'm still in third stage. But I don't know, like, it was, like this spark that was deep down telling me it will be fine. Like, you just need to give it some time.
Where did that spark come from?
I don't know, actually. Believe. Like, if I go back, like, when I think about it, I was like, how comfortable I was. Like, I was living on the edge for so long. Like, imagine going against everybody with something that you're not deep down, you're not very sure. Like, you don't know. Like, it could go either this or this. You don't know. Like, it's 50-50. But at least I was like, I would rather regret doing something than regret not doing something. Like, at least I would be like, when I grow up, I've tried it. I gave it a shot. And if it works, then good for me. If it doesn't work, then, it's a lesson. But deep down, the spark was telling me, is like, it's going to be all fine.
So you talked about the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Fast forward to today. What's life like as a tour guide for you today?
Ever since I made that decision, I never worked, really. I was on a holiday ever since, and I'm still on holiday, because I'm doing something that I have an incredible amount of passion in, that I enjoy so much that I don't feel like I'm working. I can do this for months, repeatedly, back to back. And I would go back home, I would be exhausted physically, and I would be absolutely relaxed and feeling amazing mentally and deep down there. It's once you believe in something, once you put the efforts into it, and once you have trust in yourself, trust in God, and trust in the situation in your family and your circle, you always succeed. Like for me, there's no question about that. And even if you don't succeed in this, you turn it to this, and it will eventually turn into something. I never thought anybody would contact me. I mean, at the end, I was just a young guy just going around this country. You know, like, what's the big deal? You know, like, in my head, I never thought what would turn into. I had no idea what was this going to, or what's going to end. I had zero clue. But I knew that it made me happy. It made me feel like a different person. That beat my depression that I had absolutely to the ground. It was my best physiotherapy, my best everything. That it put my mind at peace. And just day after day, time after time, when I say it cannot get better, it gets better. When I look back, and I was like, the trust that I put in myself, in God, and family, and everything, did not go in vain. It did not go for nothing, basically.
So let's talk a little bit about Iraq itself.
Yes.
What's your opinion on how Iraq is portrayed in the media, and especially Western media?
Poorly. Unfortunately, it feels like Iraq was sentenced to problems over the last few decades. Like, Iraq has dealt with more than a continent combined, with all the problems, like anything you think of, Iraq have been through, to the point that right now with the healing process, it is so hard. It's very hard. Like, Iraq is viewed as, unfortunately, like, whatever happens in Iraq, if it's good, then it's covered. If it's bad, then it's shout all over social media. Like, if there's anything like what you think it can happen to any other country, like theft, homicide cases, or anything like that, which you can see by statistically, it's all across the world happens. But when it happens in Iraq, it's always, Iraq, Baghdad. Like I'm sure, like I totally believe, and I totally agree, with that, the idea that Iraq was dangerous back in the days. True. I mean, Iraq had its phases, and with ISIS and before that, but we beat it. These circumstances that we had from sanctions, invasions, ISIS, etc., etc. Like, these things are past for us. These things they're long gone. Nothing ever like that happened. Like, no major attacks, nothing. Like, you would look at Iraq and you would think is like, statistically, Iraq is very dangerous. When you look at numbers, Iraq is actually one of the safest countries in the Middle East. Like, travel advisory, which from so many countries, majority of the countries in the world, show Iraq as an absolute terrible place, because their reputation is very, very strong. Like, countries like Vietnam, the war stopped in Vietnam for, I don't know, like 50 years. It's still, the name Vietnam is catchy, you know, like, even though it's completely fine. It's completely fine now. Like, I mean, they're long past this point. It's the same thing for Iraq. Iraq has healed in the last 5 years. Iraq has developed incredibly fast in the last 5 years. Iraq is moving forward impatiently because we've been paused from the whole world. We've been cut off for 40 years, and we cannot wait to be back, and we cannot wait to show the world that we're capable. We can, you know, like, we can prove ourselves, and we can show the world that Iraq can be better, and it is getting better. And we want to prove it by showing, by numbers, by pictures, by opinions, by podcasts, by everything. It's all part of it. It's all part of a package. But unfortunately, until now, like, in the media Iraq is getting tiny bit better. But still, like, everybody's waiting for something wrong to be like, I told you so.
And why is that the case, you think?
I don't know. It's a very good question. It's like I'm sure there's some people are getting some benefits from it. Like, it cannot be random. Or views, likes, maybe. If you post, like, there's a massive park is getting ready from a place that was filled with garbage to now they want to make it longs for Baghdad, which is literally under construction right now. Have you ever heard that in the news? No, and it's a big deal in the country. It's like, like what, I don't know, like 10% of Baghdad or something. It's a massive place. They want to make it a modern park. Nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever talks about like the skyscrapers that have been under construction in Baghdad. Nobody talks about the old city that has been reshining and renovated now recently, about the first tram in Baghdad. And that is like literally like 1% of what's happening, that what I just mentioned right now. But of course you've heard of there's a homicide happened, and like literally last year in the CNN and BBC and like all over social media was a homicide, which it turns out it was a vendetta with a blogger. The whole world was posting about that. Like I was like, I'm sorry, like don't you have other business to do? Like it's a homicide in Baghdad, showing it as like Baghdad, the capital of murder. I'm sorry, like what? What? You cannot call a capital of murder by one murder. And by statistics, Baghdad is safer than major cities. Like if you compare it to Paris, Baghdad is safe, much safer. To Washington, much safer. And so many other places that like would you be scared of going to Paris or going to Baghdad? Like you would not think twice if you're gonna go to Paris or Washington DC or like so many, like these are just on top of my head, but like you would not think twice if you want to go because it's safe. But to Baghdad, you're like, whoa, that's a tough call. But you look at numbers, it's actually the opposite. It's like you should not be worried if you care about the numbers. To Baghdad, you should be worried to go to major cities because statistically they are more dangerous. You're more likely to be up there, to be stabbed there, to be etc. 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 You know.
Yeah. So, what are your hopes and dreams for the future of Iraq?
Oh, I have big ones. Hopes. I hope the government does better. Like the government has changed, I have to say. Like in the last 2 or 3 years, the new government has changed, has been trying to put into the effort to reconnect Iraq to the outside world, to rebuild the infrastructure and all of these kind of things. I hope it does it more because we need more. Iraq needs everything right now. Like education, yes. Like infrastructure, yes. Just name it. We need everything because Iraq haven't been updated for 40 years. You know, we're quite a lot behind. That's what I hope, and what I hope for also people. That is, I think, one of the most important things. People to give Iraq a chance. Iraq needs a chance now, desperately. 40 years, we couldn't ask for it because we knew the situation. We knew it was a lot uncomfortable, incredibly hard visa, dangerous, sketchy, you know, like name it, you know, and we suffered. And like we were the first victims of that, of terror, of all of these kind of things. It's not like we enjoyed it. But now, after 40 years, we have safety. We have all the equipment to move forward, and we want the world to be like, okay, we'll give you a second chance. That second chance will change everything here. It starts from people, not just governments, not just organizations. It starts from individuals. Literally, like your opinion matters. What you put comments on social media matters. What you like matters. What you talk about matters. All of these kind of things, what I call it is individual ambassadors. Everybody comes here as an ambassador for the country because you'll be asked by your friends, by your partners, by your family, by your neighbors, by somebody random look at your photo in Babylon. Oh wait, Babylon exists? You'll be the ambassador. You'll explain for them because they don't know. These are my hopes. My dreams is that Iraq in the next few years becomes a country that is not famous for these kind of things. Also not famous for, especially visa purposes, for immigration, that we can be viewed as tourists as well, as a welcoming country, and as a developed country as well, in our own way. I don't like development that removes the spirit, the soul of the cities, because everything has a touch. We love skyscrapers and modern cities, but we also love old cities and old cafes and shisha and tea and late afternoon or early evening or late evening even. We love this vibe. We always long to this vibe. but we also want to adapt to modern technology. We want to adapt to all of these kind of modern things that we were forbidden in Iraq. Anything was forbidden. I mean, for God's sake, everything was hard or forbidden to get. And now we have the chance. Also, it's in our hand. It's not just in the international community's hand. Iraq is becoming more and more independent and sovereign with its policies, and also not dragging itself into conflicts and wars, because we've had enough of that. We're done. We don't want any conflict, no wars, nothing. We just want to have peace. We just want to enjoy our times. We want to go outside and see Mexicans and Dutch and Italians chilling in the cafes, and we see, and then we can travel to their countries and also get to know their cultures, and we can make friends and international relationships, businesses, and all of these kind of things, because we're not less than other countries who have that. Like, even like simple example, neighboring countries. We're not less intelligent than them. We don't have less wealth than them. Iraq is an incredibly wealthy country. We don't have less intelligent individuals inside the country, or decision makers, or anything. We have that, and we have the diversity, and we have one of the most beautiful countries on the planet. But I dream that someday that will be very visible to the outside world as well, and to the inside.
What makes you the most proud as an Iraqi?
I would say, since I love history, and that has been my hobby basically since high school, there is no country but Iraq can say that we are the cradle of civilization. Cradle of civilization, major inventions that, like, in the world basically happened here on the soil. Like, it's Mesopotamia. Like, I can go on and on about it until tomorrow. Like the first language, the first letters, the first place of worship, the first high buildings that happened, the ziggurats. Everybody knows about like major countries famous for history, like Egypt. But Egypt came way after Mesopotamia. Like when Mesopotamia reached the peak in civilization, and then the hieroglyph, the language, the Egyptian language came after. It's not like to make it not important. Of course it's important, but the founders of civilizations were in the south of this country. So many people don't realize that Iraq had key inventions like time, you know? Who invented the 60 seconds, if you think about it? Us, Iraq. Who invented the 60 minutes? Us. 360 degrees? Us. Major things. Actually, there's so many things were invented by Mesopotamians, Babylonians, Sumerians, Assyrians. It was not really famously owned by us. So at the end, like the Greeks took some of them, the Egyptians took some of them, and they developed a little bit, part of it, or they added a little bit, or just took it exactly the way it is. And then nowadays we know it as Greek. Like so many theories, Greek theories and stuff, they're actually originally Mesopotamian. Like when I look at them, it's very impressive. Like it's not something to hate on, but it's very impressive that we inspired the world. Unfortunately, back in the days, we used to say we're the only country in the world where its history better than its present. But again, to go to hopes and dreams again, is that we hope to go back to that, as a leading country, as a person who is obsessed with history, as a person who is practiced as a tour guide every day, that I feel so ignorant when it comes to empires and kings and names. Is when, like, just the famous ones, like the Assyrians, the Akkadians, the Sumerians, the Babylonians, the famous ones, like 5 or 6, just the main famous ones that the majority of the world. Who doesn't know the Babylonians? Who doesn't know the Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians? Like, I mean, these are common names. If you study history, you gotta study them. There's no question about that. And then the dynasties, like you would think it's the Sumerians. It's like, no, it's Sumerians. Like so many different types of them. You have like the ancient, we call it the dawn of civilization, of dynasties. That is like happened like 3000 BC. You know, it's really, really ancient, 3000 to 4000 BC. And the new one is 2000 BC. That's the new one, 2000 BC. And then one after one, it made the country filled, absolutely filled with ruins. I keep telling them, there are no museums in the world enough for the artifacts in Iraq. It's just impossible. You can have one in every single town, every single city, and it's still not going to be enough. And by the way, what we know is 5 to 10%. Is what we know and what we discovered. 90%, at least 90% of what we know is underground. So what we know is literally that bit, just top of an iceberg. That's what we know. The rest is underground. And from what we know is incredibly impressive. Imagine in 200 years, in 300 years, we're going to know 20% more. Double the amount of what we know nowadays. That is just going to be wild. Let's just put it this way. That's going to be above what anybody can imagine. That's why Iraq is impressive. That's why I'm so proud wherever I go, wherever I travel, is I'm from Iraq.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I want to share how I feel about tourism. Is that tourism, even for me, especially for me, I would say, it's just way more than a job. Tourism is a message. It's a sign of hope, especially for Iraqis. When Iraqis see foreigners coming from abroad to this country, you've seen they get very happy, and they express it in so many different ways. They just sometimes to the point that you'd be like, oh, what's going on? What is this? But Iraqis are generally very happy to see that after all these dark years, that are some people still believe in the country, putting all the efforts, all the money, all the time, all of this to give the country a chance, to see it, to admire it, to look at the beauty of it. And more than support the local businesses, of course that's a given fact. The market owners, the drivers, the tour guides, the airports, everybody benefits from tourism. What is more important to me than business or money is changing people's perspective. Not just the foreigners, not the visitors that come to the country, the locals as well. Because we need to get reconnected with the world. We need to get this stereotypes broken. There's stereotypes everywhere. Is what a term that I always like to use is smash the stereotype. Don't break it, smash it. Because there are stereotypes about what foreigners here. There's stereotypes about Iraqis there. There's stereotypes everywhere. By you coming, you giving the people the real image as a Dutch person, as a German person, as a Chinese person, as an Australian person, as Algerian person, as African, European, Asian, American person, as see somebody who's actually can talk to, can have a conversation like what we're having right now, can see your point of view, and why do you think this way? And you can see, why do I think this way? And why do I have these beliefs? And why do I have these thoughts? And one guy told me, which tourism is just cool for me, is I learned something from every single person that comes, is that one person told me something that I told him I'm not going to forget this, is it's really hard to hate somebody once you know that person. It's really hard to be racist against somebody that you know, that you met. For example, when I had a lot of Dutch people in my tours, it's so hard for me to hate a Dutch person because I've met so many incredible Dutch people. So when I think about Dutch people, I think about, I think about this person, I think about that. Oh, Tom, once we sat down and we had a conversation and we had a lovely talk. So I think about these kind of things, positive things, which leads to unite nations, to put people into some sort of connection and some sort of friendships. And again, that makes racism so hard, because it's so hard for somebody to be racist against Iraqis once You've been to Iraq and you've made friends with Iraqis and traveled across the country, because you will always remember the good things are always precious. It's very hard for us to forget. I mean, you can randomly remember as like a random happy moment 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's like, oh, I once sat down in this exact city, in this exact place, and I had an amazing time. I had an amazing tea, because it was so good that you would remember after 20 years. Which what I would really hope that next time I go somewhere else and somebody would look at me and I'm from Iraq, be like, oh, I heard my friend went there and he quite liked the marshes and the nature life. If Iraq someday reaches that point, I will die as a happy man. And I feel like, you know what, I'll be very proud to say, I played part of it, even just 0.001%. Then I would feel like my message in life was delivered.
What would you say to anyone who's listening and considering to maybe visit Iraq one day?
I would say, going back to the point that I mentioned, is give Iraq a chance, and trust me, you'll not regret it. Trust me, you'll find out things that you never thought about before. Like, it's not just a landscape in history. Okay, like these things are worth visiting. I'm 100% sure of that. But you will see something that you've never seen or you've never heard of. Because unfortunately, media works for what's best for reactions and likes and numbers. They work with numbers, but they don't work with truth all the time. That is, don't hear stuff, see stuff. Judging from hearing is very, very easy. But to see something and judge it, that requires courage. And I think Iraq is worth it. And I think people, when they come here, they're going to see that for themselves. And they're going to be their own judge.
Beautiful. Very beautiful. Ahmed, thank you for your time and thank you for sharing.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
And to you, the listener, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to leave a rating in your favorite podcast app and hit follow so you won't miss any future episodes. The show is normally in Dutch, but who knows, I might do more English episodes in the future. If you'd like to learn more about Ahmed or join one of his tours, you'll find his contact details in the show notes. Also, a big shout out to CultureRoad, the company that organized my trip to Iraq. I'll link to them in the show notes as well. Hope to have you with me again next time, and take care.